Hi, my name's Steve Eddy and welcome to Paper of the Week. Now, if this is your first time you listen to this, we go through scientific papers every week and explain the ins and outs and what they actually mean to you. Now, today's paper of the week is titled The Microbiome in Mechanisms of Asthma. Now, microbiome is all those bugs in your gut, and asthma, of course, is a constrictive lung disease. It's an inflammatory lung disease that you've probably heard of, and a lot of people have, about 10% of the Western population. So you might be thinking, well, what's the gut got to do with our lungs? Well, it's a great question, because if you've got asthma, you know someone with asthma, they're treating the lungs, they're treating the lungs. What we now know, and this is a very recent scientific paper published this year, showing that the microbiome, the bugs in your gut, influence heavily your asthma. So, for example, there are certain gut bugs that you can pick up throughout life that increase the rates of asthma. Now, one of the ones, the bugs in the gut, is called Clostridia, and that actually drives asthma. But I guess we should say, well, what is asthma in particular? You know, it's something to do with the lungs. Right. Well, inside your lungs, you've got these tubes that lead to these little sacs at the end of their lungs called the alveoli, where all your oxygen and carbon dioxide changes, so you end up reoxygenating your blood. That's the idea of the lungs. And you breathe out carbon dioxide. In oxygen, out carbon dioxide. Now, what asthma is an inflammatory process that occurs in the lungs. And this inflammatory process is driven by the immune system, namely the neutrophils, eosinophils, interleukin 13, interleukin 5, and interleukin 4. They're some of the chemical mediators that drive asthma. And it's triggered by a number of things, particularly allergies, sports-induced asthma, or it could be obesity-induced asthma. Now, those sorts of asthmas, the allergy is one that we're talking about here, because you've got aspects of the immune system which cover different parts of the job. You've got parts that kill bacteria and viruses, and you've got parts that get rid of parasites and those sorts of things. Now, in asthma, we know that they've got too much of this aspect of the immune system. So the immune system might think it's good, but too much of it is a bad thing. If you get too much of this side, the T helper 1 side, you can get autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis. T helper 2, you get allergies, asthma, allergic rhinitis. So people have this too much of T helper 2. Now, the microbiome, if it's diverse and has loads of different bacteria, actually normalizes the immune system to be normal. But there are some bugs in the gut that do this, and that's like Clostridia. And those sort of things are quite bad. So the gut microbiome is developed when you're born. You're born out of a vagina, usually, and you swallow a lot of Lactobacillus acidophilus and Bifidobacterium infantilis, and you start developing your microbiome. But if you're born caesarean section, you don't swallow those bugs, and your gut microbiome is affected. And that's why caesarean section individuals have more problems developing asthma. The second part of this, of course, is that bottle feeding versus breastfeeding. You know, breastfeeding's best, but breastfeeding, of course, gives you those bugs as well, which help protect against asthma. Okay, so what we're finding out here is that the human microbiome impacts the development of asthma through direct and indirect mechanisms. There is independent relationships between different microbiome niches, particularly the lung and gut, and the development of asthma. We also know the mechanisms through which the microbiome related to asthma involve immune development, immune tolerance, functional metabolites, and relationship to infections. So the gut microbiome is more than just the health of the gut. If you have a healthy gut and eat healthy foods and produce a lot of soluble fibres and eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, you are protected against developing asthma. People who eat a lot of grains or dairy, those sorts of things, are prone to more asthma. And the link is the gastrointestinal tract. So keep in mind, when you're treating asthma or when you're thinking about asthma, think of your bowels. Thank you very much.